You are now tuned to the CWA Civil Rights Talk Show, an hour of power. Now, here's your host, Gerald Minor.
Good morning, human rights activists all over the world. Welcome back to Communication Workers of America, CWA, Human Rights Hour Power, a justice-filled hour of talk, solidarity, and worker power. Right here on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're visiting the beautiful city of Houston, you can take us with you on kyokradio.org. It's about us. That's right. It's about us. Working agreements, solidarity, living wages, worker power, and simply human rights. Honk your horns if you support workers. We have a phenomenal show lineup with Micaiah Jones, Sir Reginald Small, and Timmy Wiley today. So don't you dare change that dial. Bargaining and voting. This morning, we will be covering topics such as intersectionality awareness, union buster of the week, and anything worth bargaining for is worth voting for. Our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 19 months striking on the picket lines. And yet while they're out striking, they're still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund at cwa.org/PPG donate. And I just heard someone shout, when we fight, we win. Our brothers, sisters, and siblings at Maximus are still fighting for a contract. We ask that you continue to support the workers of Maximus and their families at cwa.org/CCW Solidarity Fund. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. August has flown by, and CWA has been outside letting our union voices ring in every district from Alaska to Maine, Texas to Minnesota, Canada to Puerto Rico. We don't play at CWA. You're tuned into the KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you on kyokradio.org. And don't forget, many of you have heard or may have not heard, CWA District 3 is out on strike. We are in day number 12 now. So let's give some support to District 3 and encourage all of our workers that are on strike in District 3. That's Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Florida, Kentucky, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Rashad Robinson, after graduating from Marymount College in the early 1990s, Robinson held leadership roles at GLAAD as Senior Director of Media Programs, leading the organization's advocacy and major media campaigns, the right to vote and fair vote. Rashad Robinson is widely recognized as a leading figure in civil rights activism and a passionate advocate for social justice. Currently at the helm of Color of Change, the largest online organization dedicated to advancing racial justice in the United States, Robinson has overseen a substantial expansion of the organization. Its efforts are steadfastly centered on the confronting critical issues, including racial injustice, reforming the criminal justice system, promoting economic equity, and holding the media accountable. In 2011, Rashad Robinson became the president of Color of Change, an advocacy organization founded after Hurricane Katrina to assist Black communities in America. During Robinson's tenure as president of Color of Change has grown by 1 million members and expanded to 4 offices in New York, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Oakland, California. Robinson organized many of the organization's initiatives, including a campaign to pull funding from the American Legislative Exchange Council. American Legislative Exchange Council is responsible for the Stand Your Ground laws implicated in the 2012 death of Trayvon Martin. Color of Change helped protect the principle of net neutrality by pushing the FCC to reclassify broadband as a common carrier. The organization's Winning Justice campaign pushes prosecutors to reduce incarceration, end the use of money bail, and change sentencing schemes under which hundreds of thousands of Black people are imprisoned in the U.S. The group has also persuaded businesses, including MasterCard and PayPal, to stop accepting payments from white nationalist groups, and business leaders to refrain from sitting on certain business councils. Color of Change is credited with working with Silicon Valley companies, including Airbnb, Google, and Facebook, to improve diversity inside their companies and address policies that harm Black users. Their media and Hollywood teams also work to get content they deem racist and inaccurate taking off the air. They have gotten several reality TV shows and conservative hosts canceled. Robinson has been a driving force behind the organizations of impactful and influential campaigns that actively confront systemic racism and advocate for increased accountability within both corporate and government institutions. His innovative and strategic utilization of digital platforms has resulted in the successful mobilization of communities and the facilitation of tangible change, particularly in the realms of enhancing media representation and reinforcing corporate responsibility. Through his dedicated efforts, he has achieved remarkable successes, including shaping media narratives, advocating for policy changes, and compelling corporations to take responsibilities for their practices. Additionally, Robinson actively engages in discussions on matters related to race and social justice, leading his insights to various media platforms and public forums. He has also been a prominent voice in discussions about the role of technology and social media in perpetuating racial inequality. And he has been involved in efforts to push tech companies to take stronger stances against hate speech and disinformation. His work has earned him recognition as a leading figure in the fight for racial justice and equality in the digital age. You are tuned into KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you on kyokradio.org. Good morning, radio show, and welcome back. Up next, we have Intersectionality Awareness Month with Micaiah Jones. Good morning, Micaiah.
Good morning, Errol, and good morning, KYOK Radio. I'm glad to be back and happy August. I know it's almost the end of the month, but I just wanted to talk about intersectionality awareness. So intersectionality is a concept that recognizes how people hold multiple identities and experience unique challenges at the intersections of those identities. Intersectionality is a term coined and introduced in 1989 by Kimberly Crenshaw, an American civil rights advocate and law professor. And it's a way of understanding how these different aspects of ourselves intersect, overlap, and are impacted by various systems of oppression. Whilst the term intersectionality originated in Black feminist theory, it is now often used to refer to the interactions between the 9 protected characteristics defined in the Equality Act of 2010, plus wider characteristics that shaped lived experiences of discrimination, inequality, and privilege, such as socioeconomic disadvantage, occupation, and care experience. Intersectionality is an important framework for understanding how systemic injustices intersect and how identities can interact to create unique experiences of privilege and oppression. Intersectionality is the idea that someone identifies with 2 or more marginalized groups, including gender identity or race. It's important to try to understand the experiences that all people have with their identity. A diverse and inclusive workplace and world means that we uplift disadvantaged societal groups. By spreading awareness, we are promoting positive change. And no one experiences life the same way because no 2 people are exactly alike. Even if 2 people are born in the same city, grow up on the same street, and go to the same school, each person will face different challenges throughout their life. We are a myriad of social identities that stem from our race, gender, sexuality, religion, disabilities, culture, lifestyle, and beyond. These identities make us a wholly unique individual, but we often find solidarity with people or communities who share one or more of these traits with us. Intersectionality is a way of understanding how these different aspects of our lives intersect and are impacted by various systems of oppression again. Through intersectionality, we are able to understand complex solidarities and see how people's identities shape their experience in life based on their relationship to power. Rather than using this or that logic, intersectionality acknowledges people's linked oppressions and the simultaneous privilege plus oppression they may experience. Let me give you a few examples. So although a white woman and a Black woman might both experience bias based on their gender, a Black woman may experience additional bias based on her race. However, if this Black woman comes from a wealthy background, she might receive additional opportunities that a low-income white woman might not, though this won't erase the inherent biases she'll experience based on race, gender, and other possible factors. Here's another example. A person is not a woman on one hand and disabled on the other. Rather, she is a combination of these at the same time. That is, a disabled woman. In this example, her identity as a woman is shaped by her identity as disabled, and vice versa, as the elements of identity are not lived or experienced separately. Intersectionality, and let me be clear about this, is not about adding up different kinds of inequality. Intersectionality is not about pitting different people or groups against each other to assess who is more marginalized or disadvantaged. It's not about looking to construct a hierarchy of inequality where some forms of oppression are seen as more important than others. Intersectionality is a lens used to ensure that no one is left out of our fight for justice and equal rights. It isn't meant to create oppression hierarchies. Instead, it helps us assess the difference between equity and equality and analyze how different forms of oppression and inequality reinforce one another. When we ignore this overlap and refuse to acknowledge the complexity of a problem in favor of only tackling one part of it, it can often reinforce existing inequalities. In some cases, it can even create animosity between different marginalized groups who may feel like their problems are being overlooked or minimized in favor of others. We all know that there is no racial justice without gender justice, and no gender justice without racial justice. It's important to recognize how different forms of oppression overlap, and intersectionality teaches us why this mindset is vital in our fight for equity and justice for all. So here's a quote. Intersectionality is a lens through which you can see where power comes and collides, where it interlocks and intersects. It's not simply that there's a race problem here, a gender problem here, and a class or LGBTQIA plus problem there. Many times that framework erases what happens to people who are subjects of all of these things. Intersectionality is vital because it allows people to see beyond the rigid identities, and it helps us understand that we are all more connected than we may realize. Our energy shouldn't be divided, fighting amongst each other. We should be working together to dismantle the systems of oppression that affect us all. Happy Intersectionality Awareness Month, everyone. Back to you, Errol.
Thank you so much, Maikia. You're listening to the Communication Workers of America, CWA Human Rights Hour Power, a justice-filled hour of talk, solidarity, and worker power right here on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. And don't forget, you can take us with you on KYOKradio.org. Up next, Union Buster of the Week. Good morning, Timia. How are you?
Good morning, Errol. I'm well. Good morning, KYOK listeners. Today I have a new vocabulary word for you, and that word is scab. A scab, plain and simple, is somebody who breaks the strike line. That's what a scab is. So if you see somebody breaking the strike line, that's a scab. Today, I want to talk to you about the strike that's going on in District 3, our beloved District 3, which is the southeast of the United States. CWA members are on strike at AT&T Southeast because AT&T has not been bargaining in good faith. We have filed an unfair labor practice charge against AT&T for not bargaining in good faith and for not sending representatives to the bargaining table with the authority to make decisions. The charges also address the company's refusal to bargain over mandatory subjects of bargaining and reneging on agreements made in bargaining. AT&T workers on strike include over 17,000 technicians, customer service representatives, and others who install, maintain, and support AT&T's residential and business wire line technologies, telecommunication networks in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Our members want to be on the job, providing the quality service that our customers deserve. Let it be known, our members want to go to work. They want to earn a living. They want to do a good job. They want to provide quality service for their customers that they deserve. AT&T can do the right thing. It's not too late. they can start negotiating with us in good faith. That's all it takes. That's all we're asking for, is for AT&T to negotiate with us in good faith. So if you're wondering how you can support the striking workers in the Southeast of the country, you can, every Thursday from now until the strike is over, CWA members across the country will wear red and hold up signs at work, standing if you're able to show your solidarity and take pictures of yourselves holding the sign. And you can send those pictures to unionbuster@gmail.com. Again, you can send those pictures to unionbuster@gmail.com. If you wear red on Thursday, please take a picture showing your solidarity with the striking workers at CWA. Again, our vocabulary word for the day is scab. If you see anybody that's breaking the strike line and not standing in solidarity with their brothers and sisters or their union siblings, that is a scab, and we like to call scabs what they are, scabs. So today we're gonna deem AT&T in all its glory our Union Buster of the week. And my bell is broken today. It must be on the strike line.
We'll just have to say boo.
The bell is on strike. Boo!
We have thank you so much, Timmy. I can't get over. You know what? I want to go back to the video from the
I know it. I'm gonna get this bell right one of these days.
Oh, and I gave you such high praise that you had all that working, and we'd have moved up high in the technology world. And look at you. We'll work on that next week. Thank you so much, Timmy, for the Union Buster of the week. Spotlighting our own is up next with Reginald Small. Good morning, Reginald.
Good morning, Arrow Minor, and good morning to our KYOK radio listeners. I am and I remain Reginald Small, CWA activist and chairperson for the Committee on Civil Rights and Equity. And Tamia, thank you for the reminder for the red. Of course, I already knew it. I am prepared. I have on my red today, and we'll be taking the photograph and posting it and sending it to the appropriate person. It is good to be with you all this morning. And as you all know, because I've said it once, and I must say it again, this is my favorite portion of the program, spotlighting one of our own. But I haven't perhaps ever told you why this is my favorite part of the program. I'm so glad that your inquiring minds want to know, because I want to share. So often in this line of work of activism and unionism, there is great work being done all the time, but behind the scenes, representing in person, fighting with entities on your behalf without you even knowing it. There are very few thank yous going around the world today and a whole lot of criticisms. It seems very hard to please. In this segment, we spotlight people that are and have been and are continuing to do on a daily very great work and contribute to union and society on a daily. Sort of our unsung heroes. Today is not very much different. We want to spotlight a group of people that can't be identified by name because there are so many of them. The bargaining teams across the nation, the bargaining representatives, the bargaining committees across the nation. These are the people that stand up and say, here I am, send me. I will go and be a representative for my people, for my union. So for our listening audience that may not be clear on what a bargaining team or committee is as it relates to union, I'm going to try to shed a little light there. We'll start off with the words collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is the process in which working people through their unions negotiate contracts with their employees to determine their terms of employment, including pay, benefits, hours, leave, health care, and safety policies. Also ways to balance work and family and more. It is also the best way to raise wages in America. Proven and factual, working people in unions have higher wages better benefits, and safer workplaces. Now, for the bargaining team, the bargaining committees, the representatives that we're going to be talking about today, that we're actually spotlighting, which is made up of rank and file members, officers, staff reps, an array of different people. But these are the people that have committed themselves to achieve the above mentioned better wages, hours, leave, healthcare. These are the people that leave their jobs and families to stand in the gap for us members. These are the people that are at the table with the company on our behalf and on behalf of our families. These are the people that will have to bear the burden of coming back to us to tell us that perhaps we got some of what you wanted, but not everything. These are the people that will have to stand behind the contract, which is ratified. They'll have to stand behind that contract for years to come, because it doesn't end at the table, because often for years to come, the intent of the verbiage will have to be explained in many cases, and in those cases by members of the bargaining team. This is not a job for the faint of heart. So now that we understand a little more about collective bargaining and those who do the bargaining, let's get down to the nitty-gritty today and talk about what a great honor it is for us to spotlight these people across the various districts. They are doing the work, in many cases have completed it, but it's never really complete. We have major fighting going on all the time, some that we can see plainly. We have bargaining going on in the gaming industry that stretches across various districts. We have bargaining, real bargaining right now going on in D3, which has been mentioned by Tamia and Errol, in which we are all aware and that we're all standing behind and wanted it to have national attention because it's very important. It will set the tone for future bargaining. We have D9 that is still fresh with bargaining. We have public sector bargaining going on all the time and all over the nation. So I couldn't name everyone by name, but I believe you get the intent that our bargaining teams, our bargaining committees, or our representatives on bargaining, they've made a commitment and we stand behind them. And so on behalf of CWA and the benefactors of your efforts and sacrifice, today we spotlight you, we recognize you, we salute you, we send a shout out to you, and we would ring a bell for you if Tamia could actually get that to work. But we actually just want to appreciate you and say thank you. Back to you, Errol.
Good morning, Reginald. Thank you so much. And let's pause right here. We have a caller on the line who has joined our Zoom, and that is none other than our president, Mr. Claude Cummings. Good morning, Mr. Cummings. You're now on the air.
I believe he's muted.
Okay. Mr. Cummings, are you there? All right, we'll come back to him as soon as he comes to the line. You're listening to Communication Workers of America, CWA, Human Rights Hour Power, a justice-filled hour of talk, solidarity, and worker power, right here on 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you on kyokradio.org. Mr. Cummings is now on the line.
I think I'm unmuted now.
All right. How are you doing, Mr. Cummings?
Yeah, man, I'm doing fine. How are you doing this morning?
We're hanging in there, sir. Thank you so much for reiterating. We don't play at CWA. We'll let you take the show.
We don't play. We don't play at CWA, and we're showing AT&T that now. Let me just start out by thanking all of you for the great reports that I heard this morning and the great work that you've been doing with this radio show. It's unfortunate that we're in a situation now where our bargaining team and our members in D3 are out on a ULP strike, and it's real simple. We can't get AT&T to come to the table with reasonable proposals, and to be quite honest with you, they have not been fairly treating our bargaining committee as far as putting proposals on the table to bargain. Bargaining is about bargaining. And of course, we understand clearly, bargaining is give and take. No one group is going to get everything that they need in bargaining, but you can't get off at first base until you bargain and you bring proposals to the table and you bring information that the union has requested to the table. So in my 38 years of being a leader in this union, this is the first time I've experienced in bargaining a situation where management is just not coming to the table with the mindset of trying to get a deal done. So I am extremely happy with what is taking place, not only in District 3, but around the country. So for those that are listening in different districts and different sectors, I'm proud of everyone that's wearing red. I'm proud of the signs that are being held up. And I'm proud of elected officials that we've had an opportunity to talk to about this strike, that have taken pictures with elected officials and that have held up signs in support of our members that are out on strike. This is the largest unit of AT&T employees and union members that we have across the country. And I'm just extremely proud of what they're doing. And I plan to join a picket line as soon as I can. Hopefully, I might be flying out tomorrow to Louisiana to see if I can get on a picket line and join those members that are out. I'm proud of the Harris Waltz campaign. On today, they are meeting with 3 of our members that are on strike in Georgia to talk about why we are on strike and some of the difficulties that we're having trying to get a deal done. And I'm also proud of our executive board, who has voted now to give resources to our members that are on strike, so we can maintain the unity that we have, and our members aren't adversely affected by pay. So I'm asking all of you that might be listening in to please support those members that are on strike. We're gonna, we say all the time, if we fight, when we fight, we win, and I expect us to come out of this, with a win in the end, and with a fair contract that our members will have an opportunity to vote on. So thank all of you for what you have done. For those that are listening around the country, thank you for the support of those members that are on strike, and understand clearly that me, the Secretary Treasurer, Amina Salam, this entire executive board stands 100% behind the D3 bargaining committee in their attempt to try to get a fair and decent contract from AT&T.
Mr. Cummings, before you get off the line, of course, we have sent out emails, group texts to make sure that all of our members that are on the line are tuned in to the radio show this morning, because they are already looking for information. A lot of times our members don't get to hear directly from you, but since they are tuned in today, will you give them some direct personal encouragement to hold the line this morning?
Listen, we've got to stick together. Simple as that. If we stick together, we will win this strike. We will do that. It's so important that we don't break, and that you continue to stay out. I know that the bargaining committees, I've told both AT&T and the D3 bargaining committee that we need to bargain and bargain all day until we can get to an agreement. Our strength is in numbers. Our strength is our numbers, and they need us. Already I'm hearing that there are managers that are trying to do some of the work that our members do. There's some safety issues that have taken place. There have been some mistakes that have taken place as far as customer service is concerned. There are more of us than there are them, and they cannot do the work that our members do on a daily basis. And so I'm asking all of you as your president, and I'm not just going to sit in the office in Washington, D.C., or if I'm in in Houston, and just sit back and watch what's going to happen. I'm going to get out on the picket line with you. I'm going to be supporting the bargaining committee in any way that I can. But it's extremely important. It's extremely important that that we stick together. In unity, there is strength. Simple as that. So I'm asking all of you to stay strong. You know, don't cross the picket line, and I believe that we will be able to get a fair and just contract for you to vote on in the very near future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cummings. We know that you're very busy with this active strike, and we're going to let you go at this time and we want to personally thank you in D3 and the executive board for voting for resources to come to our district. Thank you so much.
Yes. I was an advocate all along for it. Just a matter of how to get there with this being the ULP strike, but we got it done. And I've said all along to the executive board, we have got to support those members that are out on strike. And this executive board is 100% behind what's taking place. You have our full support, and we're just asking you to hang in there, continue to stay out, and I believe that we will get a deal done soon.
Thank you so much, President Cummings.
Thank you so much.
You're listening to Communication Workers of America, CWA Human Rights Our Power, a justice-filled hour of talk, solidarity, and worker power right here on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. Don't forget, you can take us with you on KYOKradio.org. And I just want to reiterate that you heard it straight from Mr. Cummings, that resources are coming to District 3, and he, as well as the executive board of CWA, are behind District 3. So thank you again, Mr. Cummings. Thank you to the executive board for standing behind us here in District 3. As Labor Day approaches, AT&T strike continues to affect services. In what is the largest strike in the United States, over 17,000 Communication Workers of America members in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee remain on strike due to AT&T's failure to bargain in good faith. Customers throughout the Southeast have reported extended wait times for service and repairs as a result of the strike. Undertrained managers and contractors who have been replacing striker workers have been involved in several accidents, some of which have resulted in serious injury. We appreciate the outpouring of support we have had from union members, elected officials, community organizations, and the public, said CWA District 3 Vice President Richard Honeycutt. We care about our customers and urge AT&T to resolve the unfair labor practices that caused this strike and engage in good faith bargaining so we can get back to work. When CWA's executive board authorized this strike, we knew that our members would remain strong, and they have said CWA President Claude Cummings Jr. The striking CWA members have our union's full support, including financial support from our Members Relief Fund. Up next is anything worth bargaining for is worth voting for. Good morning to the co-hosts and all that are online today. We have so much to talk about, and I don't know about you guys, but I am ecstatic that Mr. Cummings has taken time out of his schedule to call into the radio show to encourage the members and to encourage everyone that is listening to the radio show today, to encourage them on the striking lines, because I know for a fact that I make sure that all of my members at Local 3902 in Birmingham, Alabama are listening to the show. And I did send out a message to everyone in our distribution list to tune today at 10 a.m. So here we are with intersectionality. And let me kind of talk about this just a little bit, and then the co-host will come on in. Intersectionality between bargaining and voting explores how overlapping identities such as race, gender, class, and more impact individuals' experiences and power in both collective bargaining, such as labor unions and voting processes. We have bargaining power, voting power, intersectionality in labor movements, and policy implications. And in summary, the intersectionality between bargaining and voting highlights the need for nuanced approaches that consider the multiple overlapping identities that influence people's experience and power dynamics in both contexts.
Right. Good morning, Errol. So I thought, when we talked about this last night, I thought long and hard about what was something that I feel like is worth bargaining for and also worth voting for. And one of the main things that popped out to me was healthcare, right? We bargain for healthcare as part of our wage and benefits packages at work. And then we also have to fight for healthcare at the ballot box because only 1 in 10 Americans are union members, which means everyone doesn't have the benefits that we have or have the rights at work that we have as union members. And as union members, it is our goal to increase the benefits and wages and just overall quality of life of all workers, not just union workers. So one of the main things that I felt that we should bargain for and vote for is good healthcare and good healthcare benefits for all.
And anything worth bargaining for is worth voting for. Intersectional identities also play a significant role in voting behavior and access. And we all know Reginald loves talking about voting. And Reginald, this is your opportunity to get it off of your chest because we are faced with marginalized groups of systemic barriers to voting.
Well, Errol, you're absolutely right. And I can always say some things about voting because it concerns me, and it has always concerned me that a big part of our union population, I'm understanding as they're coming in with younger people, aren't as passionate about the voting process, and they don't necessarily feel that their vote actually makes a difference. And we're having to, as we should, we're actually having to sit down with them one-on-one and actually talk to them about the power of voting and how voting is tied to union and how bargaining is a part of it. If we could get certain legislative measures passed, then we wouldn't have to spend time at the bargaining table for these issues. But one thing comes to mind, Errol, I'm going to step back for a minute. Paid sick leave. That's a real big issue that we deal with bargaining. But yet in many counties, in many areas, it's something that's on the ballot that we're trying to get pushed through as a paid sick leave initiative on a ballot. So they can't be separated. Union and voting, legislative, it's all together. I mean, we talked about the triangle once before. One side of it is organized and one side is representation, but that other side, there is a legislative piece to that, movement building piece in that triangle. That triangle can't stand with all three of those lines propped together.
You're absolutely correct. And even before this ULP strike here in Birmingham at Local 3902, and I got to give my president a shout out, local president, Mr. Ed Brazier, we had a grievance strike. And while on the line, you would be surprised at how many people passed by and wanted to know what was going on, as well as those that were not registered to vote, trying to find out what's going on and why should I vote. So even when you're on strike duty, you have to take the time out to explain to the general public what is going on. And if you find out that they are not voting, you have to make sure you take time out with them and explain why it is so important to vote. And since we're out on the strike lines, whatever we are bargaining for, it is also worth voting for.
And when we're having those conversations, Errol, you know, I was at a meeting that there were many different unions at the meeting, and one of the main struggles now is not wanting to actually talk about the voting piece because there are so many people, we're divided. We want to take one corner or the other corner, be it blue, red, whatever. We're so divided that it's an uncomfortable subject sometimes to actually talk about it. But voting is very, very important. We must exercise our right to vote. I've said it many times. People have died for this right. We're standing on shoulders for something that we think we're entitled to, but we were not always the benefactors of this right. Someone sacrificed something for us to have the right, and we owe it to them to actually go and vote. And then not just go and vote, but to be an informed voter. Now, as a union person, I have to throw this in. We need to look at the candidates, and we do. Are those candidates in favor of our labor movement? That's going to further our cause. We must look at that. We cannot deny that piece. We must look at that. And in some cases, when you're comparing two people, let the record speak for itself.
And union workers and working families, they often intersect in discussions about labor rights and economic stability. Unions play a crucial role in advocating for fair wages, better working conditions, and benefits, which can significantly impact working families' quality of life. If you have and within the labor movement, for example, there are needs of women, LGBTQ plus individuals, people of color, and all of these things may differ from those of the dominant group, and that is why it requires inclusive bargaining strategies.
I agree. And to kind of piggyback off of what Reginald said too, it's not only do we need to be inclusive, we also need to be educated. So there goes that word intersectionality again. So you have to also be educated on the topics that you may not think affect you, but they do, right? So like I talked about before, like with healthcare and things like that, like someone can be fighting for healthcare because of reproductive rights. Someone else can be fighting for healthcare because of gender affirmative care. Someone else can be fighting for healthcare because insulin costs $9 million. Someone else can be fighting for healthcare because they have a disabled child and they need those healthcare benefits to help pay for assistance for them and their child when they do have to go to work. So you have to educate yourself on these issues and not just turn a blind eye to what you think doesn't affect you. Because again, intersectionality, we're all connected. And so educating yourself and making sure that you actually do show up to vote. And when we talk about voting too, even as union workers, we vote for our bargaining team members. We vote for what we want in our contracts. We vote for what we're going to sign for and what we're going to stand for. So really, you really need to exercise your right to vote. It's the foundation of our democracy. It's not just based on a presidential election. It's not just based on, who the next governor, who the next senator is going to be. The same way you could vote for a fast food restaurant to bring back the burger you like is the same way that you need to stand up and vote for things that really ultimately affect you and your peers every day in your day-to-day lives.
You're absolutely correct. And we have to also look at policy. We might as well be honest about that, because policies aimed at increasing voter participation and fair bargaining need to account for these intersecting identities. We're all in this boat together, and we have to advocate for one another. And Reginald said something earlier, and I know we kind of have gone a little long on this particular segment. But Reginald said something earlier, and that was candidates that support labor. And I don't know if I guess it's okay to kind of talk about this just a little bit today with my Kia's permission. The candidates that support working families, you have to examine their policy positions. You have to check their stance on where they stand when it comes to wages. You have to check it when it comes to raising the minimum wage. Labor-friendly candidates often support significant increases to ensure living wages. And I don't think we have had a minimum wage increase in 20 years. So look at—
We have not, and I don't know how
Okay.
people are out here surviving on $7 or seven. I think it's what, $7.25. I know it's under $8.
It's
And at this,
$7.25.
Seven
yeah, and
twenty-five, they're not surviving. They are not, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. They are not surviving. They're working 2 and 3 jobs. They're receiving supplemental income. They're receiving food stamps and supplemental housing. They're not surviving, and it's not okay. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
No, you come on right on back and get on that soapbox, because I'm about to get on one, and I know I'll be getting a bell in a minute. But the union rights, let me just deal with this just a little bit. If you're looking at a candidate and whomever that candidate is, you need to be looking at if they advocate for the right to organize, collective bargain, and protections against union busting tactics.
That's
And
exactly right.
if anybody votes for anybody that strikes or says that striking workers should be terminated, you're not—
we lost Arrow there a bit, guys, but yeah, he was hitting it. He was hitting it. We need to make sure that we have labor friendly candidates in office.
Yes, we do. He was preaching right there, Reverend Dr. Errol.
So you got to check the person's voting record. You got to examine their policy position, but not only examine their policy positions, but you need to go and vote to view their voting record. Keep a track of who you have voted for in your local elections, your state elections, your presidential election. If they have held office before, take the time out to go look up their voting record.
And I'm just going to add this, Errol, as we get ready to close this particular segment. It is important for us union people to not let this political divisive climate diminish our collective power. We must stick together and not be bamboozled with the propaganda and all of that. We have to find commonality that relates to the common causes of labor and not be divided by all the other stuff.
Right. We cannot get confused with this stuff.
No.
When it comes to labor, we have to make sure that we are supporting those candidates that support labor, because that ultimately will help the labor movement. It will help the workers that are on strike. It will help all of us that are union minded. And that we can't sugarcoat it any way. And really, as I can really open the doors of the church right now, because we really have to make sure that we are doing what is necessary to help us be better in life and receive those things that are beneficial to labor. So when we talk about labor-friendly candidates, we typically refer to those candidates who advocate for policy and legislation that support workers' rights, unions, fair wages, workplace safety, and other issues important to the labor movement.
Right. And
All
just
right,
to
I guess
reiterate, we want to make sure that everyone knows that CWA members in District 3 remain on strike against AT&T Southeast due to the company's failure to engage in good faith bargaining. That was the whole point of this conversation. We need to make sure that what we're bargaining for is what we're voting for and that we're ready to fight for it. The members of D3 have our union's full support, and every local should be, and every person should be, and willing to be engaging in mobilization activities to support the striking workers. Our international president, President Claude Cummings, and our vice president of District 3, Whoop Whoop, President Richard Honeycutt, are asking that on Thursdays, until the strike is over, members who are able to stand up at work and hold a sign in support of the striking workers, you do so. And thanks to those of you who participated in this activity last week and shared your photos online and on social media. And to all CWA members, retirees, supporters, we encourage your participation because this is a continued action and mobilization is of the utmost importance. And we stand in solidarity with our members in District 3, which is me and Timia and Errol and everyone else out down here in the Southeast. And just, we really appreciate your support. And we just want all of you out there on the picket lines to know that you got our support.
That's right. Thank you so much, Makia. And we cannot leave Reginald out because he is an honorary D3 member.
Only on Thursdays.
And that's plenty.
Oh, we have come down to, as we come down to the final minutes of the show, our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 19 months on the picket lines, and yet while they are striking, they are still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund at cwa.org/ppg-donate. And I just heard someone shout, "We are one." That's right, we are one. Our brothers, sisters, and siblings at Maximus are still fighting for a contract. And since you're in a giving spirit, because it is better to give than receive, journey on over to cwa.org/CCW Solidarity Fund and help the workers and their families at Maximus. District 3, that's all you've heard about today. Just about 17,000 workers are on day 12 of the strike. And to all of my union brothers, sisters, and siblings in D3 that are out on strike, I just want to encourage you to keep pushing. Don't give up or give in. Hold that line. I heard someone say one day, "Why do you rob banks?" A reporter asked Willie Sutton, "Because that's where the money is." That's what he replied. Why go on strike? Because that's where power is. We don't play at CWA.
Hello, somebody say that again. That's where the what is when we on strike, Errol?
Because that's where the power is.
The what?
And we don't play at CWA. An hour is not long enough to be with you, and a week is too long to be away from you. You have tuned into the CWA Human Rights Justice Hour Power broadcast. I hope something you heard today has inspired you to take action toward creating positive change in the world. Every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how small. And by working together, we can create a world where human rights are respected and valued. So I encourage each of you in the listening audience to reflect on your role in the promoting human rights to effect change in your communities and beyond. Know that you are not alone in your quest for a more just and equitable world. When faced with injustice, it can be easy to lose hope and give up. But remember, justice may be slow like the truth, but when it finally comes, it will stand. Until next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, right here on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. And if you are visiting the beautiful city of Houston, you can take us home with you on kyokradio.org. Anything worth bargaining for is worth voting for. May God bless you and keep you. See you next Thursday.